Did I wake you up? I hope so. I hope you're nice and awake so we can do math today. Woohoo! All right. We are going to go over the first few problems from the review, and I'm just going to go over a few and I'll post which ones I do, and then that way if you're struggling you'll know which ones to look at. Okay, so starting with number 1. Okay, we're supposed to find the amplitude and the period, and what you need to remember is that the period is 2 pi divided by b. Mrs. Oldham, where the heck is b? I'll show you. We've got the function, the sine function, and we have the cosine function. A is the one out front, B is the one that is next to the x. So let's look at the amplitude. Now first of all, the amplitude is the distance between the lowest to the highest cut in half. So my lowest point here is -4. My highest point is a 4. So together it's 8, but I cut that in half. So my amplitude is 4. Okay, but what about the period? Now I know I did write this down right here and we'll use it more later, but the period is the distance of where something repeats. Okay, that didn't make any sense. A period is, well, the cycle is where it starts to repeat itself. This is one cycle from here to here, and then it starts to repeat itself. The period is the distance of one cycle. So I'm going from 0, this is 1/2, this would be 2/2, 3/2, this would be 4/2, which is 2 pi. So the period here is 2 pi. That means that b would be 1. Okay, over here the amplitude is going from 0 to 4. So here's 0, here's 4. I cut that in half and I get 2. The period is going from here to here, okay, because that's when it starts to repeat, okay, and it's going from 0 to 4 pi. So that is the period. Okay, so going on to the next one. Here, we'll go like that. Okay. So again, we have the amplitude. This one's kind of hard to tell, but here's -1/2, which means 1 is going to be about right here, -1. Here's a 1/2, 1's going to be about right there. So my amplitude is going from -1 to 1, which is 2, but I cut that in half. So my amplitude is 1, and the period is going from 0 to 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. So hopefully that's what you got. Okay, amplitude here. So here's 1. I'm going to say that this is a 2. Here's 1. We're going back up to 2 up here. So -2 to 2 is 4, but I'm cutting that in half, so it's 2. And the period doesn't necessarily have to have pi's in it. It can be, it can be whole numbers. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, this is where the period ends. That's where it's starting. Okay, so the period goes from 1 to 4. So that is the period. Okay, moving on to numbers 5 and 6. Okay, this is where this is going to come in. Because this time they're giving you the equation and you need to find these things. So let's look at this here. I've got g of x is 4 sine of x. If if you really wanted to, you could write it as 4 sine of 1x, which is a complete waste of time, but you know that there's that imaginary, well not imaginary, that invisible one right there. Okay, so my amplitude, I come over here, my amplitude is 4. Okay, and the period, remember, the period is 2 pi over b. Well, b is the one snuggled up to x, okay, and it's 1. So my period for this is 2 pi over 1, which is 2 pi. All right, number 6, amplitude. I've got my imaginary, it's not imaginary, it's really there. It's invisible. Got my invisible 1 right there. So that's my amplitude. My cosine, my period is 2 pi over b, and b is pi. So the pi's cancel out, so my period is 2. All right, so down here, amplitude is 5. Period is 2 pi over b, which is 4. So this is going to be 1/2 pi, or pi over 2. Okay, right here, amplitude 1/4. Period is 2 pi divided by b, which is 2. The 2's cancel this time, and my period is 4. So that is about enough time to do the first 8, and I will come back and do the next few.